Hey guys, Brad here from Scooter Street. Got a carb breakdown video for you today on the Dellorto PHVB 22mm carb. This carb actually comes in a couple of different versions. We sell it in a 20.5mm as well as a couple of different versions of kits which come with some different parts, which I'll discuss in a moment. So, going to rip into this carb I've got behind me, and we can discuss through some of the options that are available with this particular carb. As I mentioned, there are a few different models of PHVB. The 22mm is the one that I have here. It is also made in a 19 and a 20.5 model as well. Now, if you're pretty familiar with Dellorto carbies or some Piaggio 50cc scooters, you might notice that this carbie looks very, very similar to the PHVA, which in essence it is basically the big brother of the PHVA. So the PHVA is used, it comes in sizes from 12 up to about 17.5mm. And is usually used in 50cc models. The 17.5 is actually the factory carby in pretty much all Piaggio, Vespa and Aprilia 50cc two-stroke models made from about 2000 onwards. The 12 is used in some other factory scooters as well. The VB was actually used as the factory carby in some of the 180cc two-stroke Piaggio engines, which are used in a couple of different models, including the Italjet Dragster, some of the Gilera runners, etc. This one here obviously is available as an aftermarket carby as well. It is a great carb. One of the good things of this carb, it is relatively versatile, but unlike many other performance carbs, it is available to be used with an auto choke. I think this is primarily because it was used as the factory carby in a few different models of scooters, so it needed to be adaptable for an auto choke. Now, it can also be used with a manual choke. Now, because it is the big brother of the PHVA, many of the PHVA parts will fit on this, not all of them. There are some differences, which we'll get to in a moment. However, the auto choke and the manual choke kits for this carby are exactly the same kits as the PHVA. That's all PHVAs all the way up from a 12 and all the PHVBs up to a 22 as well. Use the same choke mechanism. So there are various chokes available for it. You can get direct fit flip up chokes for it. The one that I've got here is the cable choke and obviously the auto choke, which again, if you're familiar with Piaggio two-stroke models, you'd recognize this is exactly the same choke as a Piaggio 50cc engine uses. I'm going to pop this carby apart, get the slide out, get the bowl off, and we can discuss some of the differences and the parts inside this carby. As mentioned, this carb is pretty much the big brother of the PHVA. Once you get the bowl off and the slide out, things start to sort of diverge a little bit between the two. Now, obviously, they still use the same 6mm Dellorto type jet as the PHVA. Really readily accessible jet, and quite handy that they are the same size. When I get to the pilot jets in these are a little bit different. They're a longer style jet with some different holes. Now, these do come in a couple of different types. One of them, basically, the two jets are exactly the same, but one has twice the number of little diffuser holes as the other. My understanding is the more holes, the leaner the jet is, but we're talking sort of fairly minute differences here. So generally speaking, the only time that you would need to change a pilot jet from the jet that it comes with from factories, if you're running a pod filter, you need to richen it up a little bit because the carby or the engine is requiring more base fuel because you've added so much additional air. Now, you may have seen me pop this part out and wondered what it was. This is actually the diffuser. Now, there's a couple of different diffusers that are available for this carby, and this is, as I mentioned, this carby comes in a few different kits. We sell it in two kits where we supply the Dellorto carby, the R1153 carby from memory. This particular kit here I've actually pulled out of the Molossi. This one here is the Molossi 161140 kit. This is the kit they make for the Minarelli engine, both the 50 and the 100cc. Actually comes with a larger intake manifold to suit that engine, which I've not got here. But when you order this particular Molossi kit, it comes with a slightly different diffuser, which is a 260FU. There's a couple other types of this diffuser as well, a 258 and a 262FU. Essentially, there's really two different types of diffuser that are available for this carby. There's the FU type, and there's the type that Dellorto actually supply with the carby. The particular name of it is escaping me right at this exact moment. But the difference between them is when you order the R1153 carby from Dellorto, it uses an M-style needle. Now, because the needle is different, the needle, if you imagine when this is inserted into the carby, the needle's coming from the slide from the opposite direction. The needle is sliding in and out of the diffuser. Now, the W-style needle, which is what's appropriate for this particular kit, when you order this Molossi kit, it actually comes with this needle here, which memory is a W25, and it also comes with a W16, this little packet here. Just interchangeable needles depending on what you're wanting to achieve. The 25 is a much leaner needle than the 16. The 16 is what typically comes with all of the Molossi PHVB carbies. So obviously the W needle is the same carby that's used, same needle that's used for all the PHVB carbies as well. Bit of interchangeability there. But when you order this Molossi kit, it comes with this FU style diffuser, which is the appropriate diffuser to be used with the PHVB carby to allow it to be suitable with W needles. So basically, Molossi kit, FU diffuser, W needle, they go together. Now, when you order the other kits that we have available, which are a specific Dellorto carby, not the Molossi kit. See, Molossi supply parts from many different manufacturers. Most of their carbies come from Dellorto. So when you supply the actual Dellorto carby, it uses the M-style needle, which is a thinner type of needle, and obviously requires a different style diffuser. Now, if you do order the Dellorto style, or the Dellorto carby, rather than the one that comes in the Molossi kit, you can actually get these FU style diffusers separately, and then you can use W needle kits. The reason that you might do this, the M needles are typically very difficult to get, and there's very few different types available. If you do convert your PHVB over to the FU style diffuser, which allows you to use W needles, there's quite a wide array of different W needles available, so it just gives you a bit more tunability depending on what you're wanting to do. Generally speaking, the M-style needle is not a bad needle. It'll tune up quite easily. It just doesn't give you as wide of a spectrum of different needles available as the W's do. We sell these in kits which come with 10 different needles, and it's quite easy to tune. Lots of different options for you there. With the Pilot Jet, there are multiple different options of Pilot Jet available. Because this is, comparing to a different common carby like the PHVB, which is more of a sport racing style carby, whereas the VB is more of a factory type of carby, which sort of set and forget rather than constant fine tuning. There aren't as many options of Pilot Jets available for this as there are the PHVB, but as I mentioned before, in regards to Pilot Jets in particular, you shouldn't really need to change your Pilot Jet unless you're running a pod filter, in which case you just need to increase the size of the Pilot Jet because you've made quite a drastic increase in the amount of air coming into the carby, so you need to make a fairly drastic increase in the amount of base fuel which the Pilot Jet is providing. Now, as I mentioned, the PHVA and the PHVB are sort of brother carbies, the PHVB being the bigger brother. Once you get the bowl off, things start to get quite different from the PHVA. They do use the same type of main jet, just a 6mm Dellorto main jet, which is nice that there's a little bit of cross compatibility there. And when it comes to the Pilot Jet, these do use a different type of Pilot Jet. There are a couple of different versions of this Pilot Jet available in various sizes. The only real difference between them is one has twice the number of little diffuser holes in it as the other. Not a huge difference, but when it comes to Pilot Jets, really the only time that you should be changing the Pilot Jet is if you're running a pod filter. You usually need to increase the size of the Pilot Jet, as the Pilot Jet's primary job is just to provide the base amount of fuel that the engine needs with that particular carby just to run, and then the main jet is to boost or cut that amount of fuel depending on what the slide's doing. So slide opens up, more air,
the main jet's job is to counter for that additional air that the slide is allowing into the engine to correct the air-fuel ratio accordingly. Now, you may have seen me pop this out. This is actually the diffuser. Now, depending on how you order this carby, whether you order it directly from Dellorto, some of the kits that we sell are Dellorto kits, or you order the Molossi kit. Now, Molossi, being a very typical Italian manufacturer, supply many of their parts for their kits from other Italian manufacturers. So the majority of the Molossi carb kits that are available use a Dellorto carby, and this one's obviously no different. This particular kit here is the 1611430 Molossi kit, which is the kit that they sell for the 50 and the 100cc Minarelli engines. Actually does come with an intake manifold to suit as well, because the PHVB has an enlarged intake manifold side OD. Without getting too far into it, but the reason I raise this is the Molossi kit. This particular kit, the 430, has a slightly different setup. Now, when you get the R1153 Dellorto kit, which is the most commonly used Dellorto PHVB 22, it uses an M-style needle. Now, there aren't really any variants in M-style needles available, not like there are for the PHVA and the PHBG, which use A and W style needles respectively. So what I'm getting at here is Dellorto carby uses the M style needle. When you order the Molossi kit, it comes with a different diffuser. This is called an FU style diffuser, comes in a couple of different types, but essentially what it allows you to do is run this carby with a W style needle, which is the same needle as the PHBG, being that it's a more sport/race orientated carby than this. There are a whole bunch of different needle tuning options available. We sell a needle kit, a W needle kit actually, that comes with 10 different needles. So basically, if you order the Molossi kit like this, it comes with a special diffuser, which allows you to run some different style needles, for which there is a much greater availability of tuning options. Now, if you do order the Dellorto kit, it uses the M style needle. There's nothing wrong with that needle, it's just not as widely tunable as W style needles are. So this particular kit actually comes with a W25 installed, and it also comes with a W16 in the packet, as well as a different jet there as well. The slide that comes with the PHVB, it's actually the same size and style slide as the PHBG, interestingly, but the difference between them is the PHVB, when you see this little slide pin here, little slot, inside the carby, inside the carby, there's a little slide pin where the slide slides through, and the job of this slot is to locate the slide so it can't twist while it's moving, as the slide actually has a cutout side and a flat side. The difference between the PHBG slide and the PHVB slide is the cutout slots on a different side. So they are the same size, interestingly, but just reverse versions of each other. This one here that it comes with is a 40. The number on these determines the size of the cutout, which affects the fuel draw. A little bit complicated, but a larger cutout is going to run a leaner overall mixture. Again, similar to the Pilot Jet, you shouldn't really ever need to change for most scooters unless you're running a race scooter and you're wanting an incredible amount of adjustability. You shouldn't really need to adjust the slide at all. The way they come from the factory, as these carbies are generally designed to be used with a 50 or 100cc two-stroke scooter, they're pretty well set up for that from the factory. You just need to adjust generally your main jet to suit the rest of the setup that you're running. And if you're running a pod filter, you need to adjust the Pilot Jet as well.
Thanks for watching, guys. Look, hopefully that gives you a bit more of a detailed overview of the Dellorto PHVB and whether it's going to be appropriate for your scooter, and if so, what sort of tuning parts that you might need to fit it up and tune it. Really appreciate your support, guys. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. We endeavour to answer every single question.